A major shift is happening behind the scenes, and it's something fans have been begging for all season long. Quiet moves are being made, unexpected changes are surfacing, and the ripple effects could alter the course of the entire year. What's been holding this team back might finally be getting addressed, but is it already too late? That's what we're going to analyze, but first click the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay well informed. The Atlanta Falcons have just added wide receiver KJ Osborne to the practice squad, and while that move might not scream blockbuster, it could carry significant implications for an offense still trying to find rhythm. Osborne, originally drafted in the 5th round by the Minnesota Vikings in 2020, is a player who's hard to pin down by traditional metrics. His speed isn't elite, his hands aren't spectacular, but he found something that worked during his time with Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. The chemistry between the two was undeniable, and now that reunion is happening again in Atlanta, where Cousins is expected to take the reins more fully under center. With Osborne available, and with Drake London set to return soon, the Falcons' wide receiver room suddenly feels a little less hollow. Whether it's Osborne, Nick Nash, or Chris Blair who gets that 53-man roster elevation next week, the Falcons will finally be adding another option to a receiving group that has sorely needed it for weeks. Now, what makes this move so puzzling isn't Osborne's fit, it's why it took so long. The Falcons have limped to a 4-7 record, and it's no secret the offense has looked stale and often outmatched. Signing another receiver shouldn't have been a last-ditch move, but here we are, finally adding to the depth chart when playoff hopes are dangling by a thread. Still, Osborne's familiarity with Cousins could turn into a sneaky smart addition, even if it's just a temporary patch. Worst-case scenario, he doesn't pan out, and the team moves on without any real cost. While the offense continues to search for answers, the Falcons' defense has quietly turned into the heart of the team, and that's not something we've said often in recent years. With 39 sacks already in 2025, this group ranks 10th all-time in franchise history, and what's more stunning is how that number has surged lately. Over the last 4 games alone, they've logged 22 sacks, averaging more than 5 per game. That is among the best stretches in the NFL right now. Leading the charge are 2 rookies, James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker, both from the 2025 draft class, and both now integral parts of a pass rush that's redefining Atlanta's identity. James Pierce Jr. in particular has taken a major leap. Early in the season, he was generating pressure but struggling to finish. That has changed. In the latest matchup against the Saints, Pierce logged 5 pressures, 2 tackles, 1.5 sacks, a pass breakup, and an elite pass rush win rate of 26.7%. He now has a sack in 3 consecutive games. This is no longer a developmental story, it's production. For a player many fans initially doubted due to the lack of a first-round pick in 2026, Pierce is proving to be worth the investment. Meanwhile, Jalen Walker has emerged as a more complete defender, especially strong against the run, which is reflected in his slightly higher PFF grade. He's not just a pass rusher, he's a multi-dimensional linebacker. And the performance wasn't limited to just one game. Against the Saints, the Falcons' defense exploded, 5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 7 pass breakups, 8 QB hits, a forced fumble, an interception, and holding New Orleans to just 3 offensive points. Sure, the Saints are struggling, but this was a dominant effort from start to finish. The defense is not the issue with this team, it's the offense that needs to catch up. The difference is glaring. While the defense has gotten sharper, more aggressive, and more polished week by week, the offense is still trying to decide who it wants to be. Which leads us straight into the quarterback debate that continues to loom over this team. Michael Penix Jr. versus Kirk Cousins. And here's where things get messy. Head coach Raheem Morris recently admitted that Cousins is simply more comfortable under center, which isn't a knock on Penix as much as it's a revelation about coaching philosophy. Because here's the million-dollar question. Why would you spend the 8th overall pick on a quarterback who isn't comfortable playing under center, a fundamental part of NFL quarterbacking? Either you misjudged Penix's skill set entirely or you've done a poor job of developing him. That lack of development is evident when you compare the numbers. Heading into the Saints game, the Falcons were 31st in the league in plays run from under center. That's almost dead last. Meanwhile, teams that lead the league in under-center play, Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, Lions, all have playoff-caliber offenses. And while under-center doesn't solve everything, it does open up play action, something the Falcons hadn't been using until suddenly they did, with Cousins. Against the Saints, Atlanta ran play action on 32% of passing attempts, up from a league-worst 9% prior to that game. The result? Cousins went 7 of 9 for 117 yards and a touchdown on play-action passes, and one of those incompletions was a drop. So the real question becomes, why did it take this long? Why did it take until Week 12 for this coaching staff to adapt? Was it Cousins demanding changes? Was it Zach Robinson finally realizing that this team had been underachieving offensively because they weren't using concepts that have long been proven to work at this level? Either way, the shift was obvious, and the results speak volumes. The part that stings is knowing the Falcons are still technically in the playoff hunt. At 4-7, with Carolina and Tampa Bay both hovering at 6-5, Atlanta's postseason hopes aren't dead. If Carolina loses their next game, the race tightens up. So why weren't these adjustments made weeks ago? Why does this team only make intelligent decisions when their backs are against the wall? The frustration isn't just about wins and losses, it's about a lack of vision, a reactive mindset instead of a proactive one. Now I want to hear what you think. With this defense emerging as a real force, and the offense finally showing signs of change under Cousins, is this too little too late? What do you think about the timing of these moves? Let me know in the comments below. And yet, even with everything starting to click in small doses, Kirk Cousins under center, play action making a comeback, and improving pass rush, this team still feels like it's trying to find its identity far too late in the season. One of the most frustrating aspects of this Falcons team isn't just the inconsistency. It's the delay in embracing the obvious. Signing KJ Osborne and unlocking Kirk's preferred offensive structure are moves that should have been implemented weeks ago. There's a pattern developing here, a pattern of stubborn coaching decisions followed by sudden course corrections only after external pressure and public scrutiny reach boiling points. Let's take a closer look at how this quarterback situation evolved. Michael Penix Jr., taken with the 8th overall pick, was always seen as a developmental prospect, but one with a massive arm and elite college production. Yet now, it seems the coaching staff is either unwilling or incapable of developing him properly. Instead, they've pivoted to Kirk Cousins, the known commodity. Cousins offers stability and competence, things Penix may offer down the line, but isn't delivering consistently yet. And that's fine in theory, but then why spend that premium pick on a quarterback you won't trust with reps when it matters most? This team was desperate for immediate contributors. A defender, an offensive lineman, even a wideout could have had instant impact. Drafting a quarterback for the future only works if you're also creating the structure to build around him. The Falcons have failed to do that. That brings us to the larger issue with coaching. Raheem Morris isn't a liar, he's admitted as much himself. But honesty doesn't always equal leadership. His admission that Cousins is more comfortable under center tells us something important. There's a disconnect between the team's personnel choices and how it deploys them. That's on coaching. That's on coordination. And that's on leadership. Because when a team is 31st in under center snaps and dead last in play action usage, despite having a running back like Bijan Robinson and a potential matchup nightmare in Kyle Pitts, someone isn't doing their homework. Speaking of Bijan, he continues to be one of the few bright spots. While he's had games where usage has been questionable, he remains explosive, versatile, and a true threat when used properly. With Cousins under center, we saw how the offense flowed better. Bijan had more space. The play action opened lanes. Defenders couldn't key on him as easily. It's a basic concept, but it worked. The problem? It's just happening now. And let's not forget about the tight end room. Kyle Pitts, once thought to be a generational talent, has been nearly invisible at times. And when he is targeted, it's in awkward spots or off-script moments. If Cousins is truly settling in as the starter for the remainder of the season, expect Pitts' production to see a late spike. The chemistry isn't perfect yet, but Cousins has a history of feeding his tight ends. Pitts could still salvage a disappointing year if this offensive identity continues to solidify. The reality is, though, this team isn't built to contend yet. Even with an elite pass rush developing before our eyes, even with Cousins stabilizing the offense, even with the pieces starting to fall into place, the season still feels like a race against time. The margin for error is razor thin. Every game going forward must be played with urgency, and not just from the players. The staff has to coach like their jobs are on the line, because they are. But here's the twist. If they could string together a few wins, they could sneak into the playoffs. Mathematically, it's possible. With Carolina and Tampa Bay not running away with the division, there's room for a late surge. If the defense continues to produce like it has, and the offense keeps Cousins under center and builds the system around his strengths, they could make things interesting. But that's a big if, especially for a franchise that's been defined more by chaos than consistency in recent years. What's fascinating is the emotional roller coaster this fan base has been on. One week, it's doom and gloom. The next, it's cautious optimism. And then we're right back to demanding firings. That volatility reflects the team itself. One week, they're holding a division rival to 3 offensive points. The next, they're inexplicably flat and outcoached. It's exhausting. But it's also very Falcons. And that's why we're here. Because for every mistake, every missed opportunity, there's also a glimmer of potential. James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker are becoming stars. The defense is legit. And with the right quarterback under center, the offense doesn't have to be elite, it just needs to complement what the defense is doing. So where does that leave us? In a strange place. A team with a losing record that could still make the playoffs. A franchise that drafted a quarterback top 10 but won't fully commit to developing him. A defense that looks like it belongs in January. An offense trying to play catch-up. Coaching decisions that are bafflingly delayed, yet eventually correct. It's a contradiction. But maybe that's just the reality of an organization in transition. And that's why every move from this point forward matters. Every decision will be scrutinized. Every snap Kirk Cousins takes under center will be viewed through the lens of why didn't we do this earlier? Every defensive standout moment from Pierce or Walker will raise the bar higher for Terry Fontenot's next draft class. The rest of the 2025 season isn't just about wins and losses, it's about proving that this coaching staff and front office can make the right decisions when it counts. Not weeks later. Not after fan outcry. But in the moment. Because if they can't do that, then we're right back where we started, rebuilding again, hoping for brighter days. But if they can? If the Falcons finish strong, establish an identity, and make smart, timely adjustments, then maybe, just maybe, we'll look back at this wild, confusing season as the turning point. If you're still watching this and riding this emotional wave with us, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and tap that bell icon so you don't miss the next update. The road ahead is rocky, but one thing is certain, the latest Falcons news and real talk you won't find anywhere else. Click the video on the screen now for more exclusive breakdowns, because the only place you'll get the full truth, first, is right here.